Okay, so I was trying to figure out a little bit more about the Skull and Bone Society, and I found this website, and I'll post it in the comments or the whatever it is, the description. But basically, I've been doing a bunch of research on the letter X. I have a video from prior that I did, and I just keep finding a little bit more and more stuff. But like the skull and bones, this is their symbol here, and I read somewhere that this is actually supposed to represent. It's like mocking Jesus. It's like the way he was crucified on the cross, and then you have the skull here, and then you have number 322, which times three is 666. But you scroll down here and you find out about the letter X, and it says that they think that the Skull and Bone Society actually came from a Greek secret society that was in 322 BC. So, but also the letter X in Greek, the Greek alphabet, the letter X actually represents 600. So then you come down here and you have 3 times 2. It shows you like what the 332 is then. 332. 322. So you got 3 times 2 is 6, and then 6 times 2 is 12, and 12 is two sixes. So you would 322 actually means 66. And then if you add that to the X, the cross or the skull, I can't even talk right now. I made this video earlier, but my computer keeps screwing up and it's driving me crazy. Um, but so X equals 600, and then the 322 makes 66, which also makes a 666. And when you come up here even farther, you read about how the X is actually Masonry. Masonry has replaced the cross of Jesus with an X representing their own Christ. That Christ of Masonry, blah blah blah, is the Antichrist, basically. So an X represents the Antichrist, according to this website. So all of that being said, there's a whole bunch of, well, not a whole bunch, but I found like a lot of things to do with movies, and this movie especially, Donnie Darko, that have to do with um, Satanism, really. But anyway, in this movie, and X's, but in this movie, Donnie Darko takes his girlfriend. And by the way, this movie came out, or the setting is in 1988, and he lives, like, it's a 28-day period, and then he goes back and ends up dying. But he takes his girlfriend to this movie. They go to see The Evil Dead, um, which actually has 88s and 73s and stuff in it as well. But the other movie on the marquee is The Last Temptation of Christ, which actually did come out in 1988, and this movie came out like 5 or 6 years before that. But the whole point of this movie, I watched it, and it's that Jesus is like deceived by Satan, and he doesn't actually die on the cross, and he lives his life after that. And then he finds out, like in the future, he finds out like what happens since he didn't die on the cross. And then at the very end of the movie, he realizes he has to go back and die on the cross because he's seen the future and he knows what's going to happen if he doesn't die on the cross. And it's the same thing that happens to Donnie Darko. Like an airplane jet falls on his house into his bedroom, and he would die. But this rabbit Frank, and if you watch my old video about Frank and Lucifer, it has like to do with South Park, Pope Francis, all kinds of stuff. But um, basically, it falls on him, and he gets 28 days to like relive his life. And at the very end, he realizes what would happen if he doesn't die. What's going to happen? So he chooses to die anyway because it's supposed to happen. So that being said, I want to show you the Last Temptation of Christ. This to me is where I feel like holy crap thing. But so the Last Temptation of Christ is a 1988 film. It was actually an adaptation of the 1953 novel. So you got five threes there, or five threes. You got three fives, which is a six. And then the guy who plays Jesus Christ in this movie here, Willem Dafoe or William. Look when he's born. I mean, he's born in 1955, which I talked about in the Erling video about the first exorcism or the exorcism movie and it's based off of, and he's 59 years old. That's craziness. And if you scroll down even farther here, uh, let's see here, his early life and career. Defoe studied at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, but left after a year and a half to join the experimental theater company Theater X. Now, if X represents the Antichrist, and this guy is got 666 all over him in his numbers, and he played Jesus Christ in The Last Temptation of Christ, that means he's representing the Antichrist to me in that movie. So let's click on Theater X here. Theater X. It was actually formed in 1969, and down here it says it closed in 2004, which is 35 years. So you have three fives again. Better yet, let's take a look at this guy's some of this guy's movies here. Let's scroll down here. You got, well, Heaven's Gate, Roadhouse 66, Last Temptation of Christ. Let's see here. There was a real reason. He plays X in this movie right here. I didn't even notice that until right now. But that his name is X. Then where is it here? The one oh, he's in Triple X? Oh yeah, I never looked at these that well. But this is what I was getting at. I need to look through these again now. But he plays in the movie Antichrist. He literally plays in a movie called Antichrist. And I just said that he plays the Antichrist in other movies. Or the, what? No, I haven't watched this movie, and I plan on now, though, to watch this movie. But his character is named He, and then another one is She, and the child is He and She. So I don't know. It's just kind of crazy. I don't know what the whole like what he represents in this movie, but I would definitely like to watch it. It's pretty interesting that he plays in the movie Antichrist and theater. And the movie was also primarily a Danish production, which, there you go, you have your Tribe of Dan. And I decided to just click on this girl here, I never have, and she's the co-star, she in this movie Antichrist. And I clicked on her, and there's nothing really that I know of significant with 8s and 5s and whatnot about her age. But if you read here, she released an album with her father at age 15. More than 20 years passed before she released 3 albums as an adult. One of them's called 555. What are the odds of that? I mean, and then you scroll down and I looked at her movies, and in 1988, she played in this movie, and she was the character Lucifer, in 1988. I mean, I'm sure there's a whole bunch more stuff about her, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes along with what I'm talking about, so hopefully I can come back to this and I'll look up a little bit more about her. Okay, so the Chi Rho was the cross that Constantine used with his army or whatever, and he basically is huge and whatever you consider, but um so because he had So the Chi-Rho is one of the earliest forms of Christogram and is used by some Christians. It is formed by superimposing the first two letters Chi and Rho XP of the Greek word this that means Christ. So basically, this is supposed to represent Christ or whatever. What XP reminds me of Windows XP. I should look that up. But anyway, so yeah, this is supposed to represent Christ. So basically, Constantine uh, put the Chi-Rho on like the helmets and I think the weapons of his soldiers and whatnot when they were fighting this war. Um, but according to everything I've read, X actually represents the Antichrist. And I mean, Constantine and the Catholic Church and paganism. It's just there's so much to research and it's so much to talk about. Um, it's hard for me to even put it to words, but it has a lot to do with everything. You just need to do more research. I can't explain it all in a short video, or at least everything that I believe that I know, at least, or have learned. But I'm gonna move on here. There's a few other things I need to show you. So I said in Donnie Darko, he lives for 28 days, which is actually October 2nd, which could be 2/8, all the way until October 30th. So 28 days. So 28 days later. And so I looked up the movie 28 Days Later. And the movie's actually about this killer virus called Rage. And I mean, in it, like, something, I can't even remember what happens here. I've never even watched the movie. But I watched parts of it, I guess. But it happened 28 days later. And that, so I clicked on this guy because in the movie his character is Frank. And I made a video a while back about how Frank is Lucifer. And I just saw, and when I see the word Frank in a movie, I click on it, and I don't even know what to even think of this. So I clicked on this guy. I'll scroll down and prove that he's Frank actually. So yeah, Brendan Gleeson as Frank. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. What? He was born on the 88th day of the year in 1955, and he is 59 years old. It blew my mind when I read that. I've never even heard of this guy. He's in Braveheart and some other movie, Harry Potter. I've never even seen the Harry Potter movies, but it just, I was like, it blew me away. He's Frank, and then he has all the symbolism around him. Like, there's not enough time in the day to even watch all of his movies and watch things. I mean, he's Alistair Moody, Alistair Crowley, and Harry Potter. I mean, what? It's nuts. Oh, and I forgot to post this after the Constantine thing, but the 88th Pope was actually Pope Constantine. Now, really? The 88th Pope is Pope Constantine? He was the only Pope to take on the name Constantine, with the exception of the anti-Pope Constantine. I mean, because it was an Eastern name of an emperor. What? So he was the only Constantine, and he happened to be the 88th Pope. And just the last thing I was going to show you is I was just thinking of things with X in it, and a Generation X just sounded familiar to me. Generation X. Well, Generation X was a punk band that Billy Idol was in. And I don't even know when. I'm running out of time here. But Billy Idol was born in 55 on November 30th, so he will be 59 years old in like another month. I mean, and he's in Generation X. Just some weird stuff. Anyway, peace.